movie stunts. And then there's the Cannonball Run, a film so wild it didn't just break the rules of filmmaking, it barely followed any. This is the untold story of how a real illegal cross-country race became one of the most chaotic, reckless, and beloved comedies of the 1980s. With actors improvising on set, real jets landing on highways, and even federal investigations, this movie didn't just push boundaries, it ignored them completely. Here are 20 jaw-dropping facts you've probably never heard. Let's saddle up.
Number 1.
Long before the film rolled cameras, the Cannonball Run was already legendary, but not in theaters. It began in 1971, when automotive journalist Brock Yates had an idea: a protest, a cross-country race, illegal, unsanctioned, and as fast as humanly possible. Yates was frustrated. He believed America's highways were becoming overly regulated. Speed limits, safety laws, and highway patrol crackdowns, he argued, were destroying the freedom of driving. To push back, he didn't write a column. He wrote a route from New York City to Los Angeles, non-stop. The first Cannonball Run wasn't a race in the traditional sense. There were no tickets sold, no trophies, no finish line interviews. It was a rebellion. The official name? The Cannonball Baker Sea to Shining Sea Memorial Trophy Dash, named after legendary transcontinental racer Irwin Cannonball Baker, who made over 140 coast-to-coast drives between 1914 and the 1930s. Yates, along with professional driver Dan Gurney, ran the first race in a Dodge Sportsman van disguised as an ambulance. They made the trip in 35 hours and 54 minutes, averaging nearly 80 miles per hour in 1971. The concept was simple. You could drive any vehicle, use any method, just get to LA faster than anyone else. No rules, no stops, just pure adrenaline.
Number 2.
By the late 1970s, 5 real Cannonball Runs had been completed. Participants included doctors, celebrities, and professional racers. One entry was even a Cadillac limo with a fake FBI badge on the dash. Yates realized the story was too good to stay in underground racing circles. He partnered with Hal Needham, a legendary stuntman turned director, best known for his work on Smokey and the Bandit. Together, they decided to turn the Cannonball into a big screen action comedy. But here's the twist. They didn't fictionalize the story much. They just added movie stars. The ambulance Burt Reynolds drives in the film, it's the exact same ambulance Yates drove across the country in 1979. Engine rebuilt, lights cleaned up, but the same vehicle. Needham's directing style, just as wild as the race. Most scenes were loosely written. Actors were encouraged to improvise, safety measures were flexible, and cameras rolled even when things went sideways. This wasn't a Hollywood story inspired by a true event. This was the event, just with more laughs.
Number 3.
By 1980, Burt Reynolds was the biggest movie star in the world. With back-to-back hits like Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, and The Longest Yard, studios were lining up to give him lead roles. But when Needham asked him to join the Cannonball Run, Reynolds hesitated. He didn't want to be pigeonholed into another car movie. But Needham was a friend. The paycheck was one of the biggest of Reynolds' career, and the cast list, full of real-life friends, promised a fun time. So he said yes. Later, Reynolds admitted it was one of his weakest career choices. He rarely looked at the script, treated the shoot like a holiday, and didn't care much about the final cut. He once said the movie was a big mess, but a fun mess. Still, his effortless charisma and chemistry with co-stars made him the anchor of the film.
Number 4.
Farrah Fawcett, coming off the success of Charlie's Angels, joined the cast as the quirky, nature-loving photographer Pamela Glover. She approached the role with full sincerity, reading the script, planning wardrobe based on emotional beats, and even asking about character motivation. What she didn't realize was that the Cannonball Run was practically a parody. When she arrived on set and saw actors drinking, joking, and changing lines mid-scene, she was stunned. She later admitted, "I didn't even realize it was a comedy until I watched it with an audience." Ironically, her straight-faced performance became a perfect contrast to the film's madness, grounding scenes that might have otherwise flown off the rails.
Number 5.
The white Dodge ambulance in the Cannonball Run wasn't just a prop. It was a piece of racing history. In 1979, Brock Yates drove that exact vehicle across the US, with his wife in the back playing a sick patient, a fake medic in the front seat, and real medical paperwork to dodge police. Their thinking was simple. Who pulls over an ambulance? The ruse worked, mostly, until the engine blew outside of Palm Springs and they had to tow the vehicle the rest of the way. But the legend was born. For the movie, the van was cleaned up and repurposed as Reynolds' ride. Knowing its backstory makes its appearance on screen even more powerful. A literal outlaw vehicle turned movie star.
Number 6.
The hilarious role of the priest-turned-racer Fenderbaum was originally written for comedian Don Rickles. He accepted the part, then suddenly backed out just days before filming. Producers scrambled. Enter Sammy Davis Jr., who stepped in and made the role iconic. Teamed up with Dean Martin, the duo added sharp one-liners, energy, and a kind of playful chaos that became one of the film's biggest highlights. Their chemistry was natural, their timing was perfect, and most of it wasn't in the script.
Number 7.
By this point in his career, Dean Martin was more interested in enjoying life than memorizing lines. So on the set of the Cannonball Run, he embraced the chaos. Martin and Davis were often seen laughing off camera, enjoying long lunches, and sometimes showing up late to set. They'd forget lines, riff entire conversations, and Needham just kept the cameras rolling. According to crew members, one scene had to be redubbed because the audio was unusable. Sammy Davis was slurring a fake prayer too much. Instead of reshooting it, they fixed the sound in post. Some might call it unprofessional, but in the Cannonball Run, it was just part of the charm.
Number 8.
In one of the film's most clever roles, Roger Moore plays a character named Seymour Goldfarb Jr., a millionaire who believes he's actually James Bond. He drives an Aston Martin DB5, wears a tuxedo, and introduces himself in the classic Bond James Bond style. Audiences loved it, but the real James Bond producers, not so much. They couldn't legally stop it, but they made sure no future Bond actor would ever spoof the character again, adding new clauses to actor contracts. That means the Cannonball Run was the first and last time a real 007 actor would play Bond for laughs.
Number 9.
One of the film's darkest moments came during production. During a stage car crash involving a high-speed chase and an Aston Martin, stuntwoman Heidi Von Beltz was injured when a seatbelt failed. She was a last-minute replacement in the scene, and the car wasn't properly checked. The vehicle slammed into a parked truck. Heidi survived, but the accident left her permanently paralyzed. The incident shocked the stunt community. After lawsuits and investigations, new safety standards were introduced across Hollywood. From that point forward, seatbelts in all stunt vehicles became mandatory. Directors were prohibited from changing stunts on set without full safety reviews. The laughs continued on screen, but behind the scenes, the Cannonball Run had left a lasting impact.
Number 10.
The Cannonball Run marked the first major American appearance of Jackie Chan. Though he only had a few scenes, Jackie treated the role as an opportunity. He performed incredible stunts, leaping off cars, sliding across windshields, and pulling off martial arts moves never seen before in US comedy films. Some of his best footage didn't even make the cut. Editors trimmed it, unsure if high-speed martial arts fit the film's tone. Jackie was disappointed, but his brief role opened the door. He would soon return to American screens in a much bigger way.
Number 11.
Most movies begin with a finalized screenplay. On the Cannonball Run, not so much. Actors showed up without knowing what they'd be filming that day. Lines were written, or rewritten, on the spot. Hal Needham directed the film like a stunt show, fast, improvised, and driven by instinct. Farrah Fawcett said she never saw a full script. Dom DeLuise admitted he invented most of his lines. And Dean Martin? He just said whatever popped into his head. Needham's philosophy was simple. If the cast was laughing, the audience would too.
Number 12.
At a time when most comedies faded to black after the credits, the Cannonball Run did something new. It rolled a full blooper reel. Viewers saw actors cracking up, missing cues, and breaking character in real time. It felt honest, raw, and refreshing. Jackie Chan in particular loved the bloopers. In fact, it inspired him to include outtakes at the end of every film he made from then on. Beginning with Dragon Lord in 1982, the idea became part of his brand. To this day, fans stay through the credits to see Jackie's most dangerous stunts and his funniest failures. It all started here.
Number 13.
One of the most jaw-dropping scenes in the Cannonball Run shows a Learjet landing on a rural highway. Today, you'd assume it was done with CGI or models. But back then, that jet was 100% real. The production had no official permits. They flew under FAA radar, had only one chance to get it right, and barely pulled it off. When federal aviation authorities found out, the crew was investigated. There were real fears of arrests, fines, or the entire movie being shut down. Director Hal Needham later said it was the most stressful day of his career.
Number 14.
In the film, Jackie Chan plays a high-tech racer who uses gadgets, martial arts, and computer wizardry to win the race. The issue? The script described him as Japanese. Jackie, a proud Chinese actor, found this frustrating. He wasn't offended, but he felt it was disrespectful and inaccurate. It reminded him how little Hollywood understood about Asian culture at the time. Still, he threw himself into the role. Every stunt, every move, every reaction was executed with precision. He barely spoke, but still lit up the screen. The film planted the seed. Jackie vowed that next time, he'd do things his way.
Number 15.
During one chaotic day of filming in Las Vegas, the crew staged a dramatic car chase. Sirens, fake gunshots, the works. One small issue? They forgot to notify local police. Real officers saw the scene, didn't know it was a movie, and sped in with full force. For a few terrifying minutes, the Cannonball Run accidentally turned into a real law enforcement event. Eventually, someone yelled, "Cut!" and the situation calmed down. No arrests were made, but the production got an official warning. Director Hal Needham, he reportedly just smiled and kept filming.
Number 16.
As Captain Chaos, Dom DeLuise was supposed to be a comic sidekick. What he became was the soul of the movie. He constantly broke during scenes, laughing midline, gasping for air, unable to keep a straight face. Burt Reynolds often looked straight at the camera in mock disbelief. Hal Needham gave up trying to get clean takes. Instead, he left the giggles in, and they became part of the film's charm. Dom's joy was infectious. He wasn't just acting, he was having the time of his life.
Number 17.
In 1986, Japanese game designer Yu Suzuki watched the Cannonball Run. What he saw wasn't just cars, it was freedom. He created a game that captured that spirit. No laps, no enemies. Just the open road, a Ferrari, and your favorite music. The result was Outrun, one of the most iconic arcade games of all time. Instead of chasing victory, you chased escape. It was about feeling, not competition. And it was directly inspired by the joyful chaos of the Cannonball Run.
Number 18.
In one quick scene, a highway patrol officer pulls over a Lamborghini. If you pause the frame, the cop looks a lot like Burt Reynolds, but it's not. It's Roy Tatum, Burt's longtime stunt double, who just happened to be visiting the set that day. He looked so much like Reynolds that a producer accidentally gave him directions for the next scene. Tatum nodded, smiled, and didn't correct him. It's one of many small Easter eggs hidden in the film, and a fun nod to how the Cannonball Run never took itself too seriously.
Number 19.
That gorgeous red Ferrari 308 GTS, driven by Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., it didn't come from a rental company. It was Hal Needham's own personal car. He handed over the keys and told the actors, "Don't wreck it." They almost did. Doors scraped, tires burned. One stunt nearly slammed it into a guardrail, but Hal never pulled it from the chute. In his mind, if the car didn't survive the ride, it didn't deserve the screen.
Number 20.
Most studios wait to see how a film performs before approving a sequel, not with the Cannonball Run. Executives were already laughing during early edits. Test audiences loved it. Before post-production was complete, the Cannonball Run 2 was officially greenlit. Needham didn't even have a finished cut, but the studio saw box office potential, and that was enough. A sequel was rushed into development, but it wouldn't capture the same magic.
Bonus.
In 1989, nearly a decade later, a new Cannonball-style film hit theaters under several titles. Speed Zone Cannonball Fever, Cannonball Run 3, in some countries. But it had no Burt Reynolds, no Dom DeLuise, no spark. The cast included John Candy, Eugene Levy, and Brooke Shields. But the story felt watered down, the tone uneven, and the humor forced. It flopped hard. So hard, most fans don't even know it exists. And just like that, the Cannonball legacy went quiet. The Cannonball Run isn't a perfect movie. Critics gave it poor reviews. Some stunts went too far. The script was barely there. And yet, it struck a chord. It captured a spirit that Hollywood often misses. One of freedom, fun, friendship, and rebellion. It showed us that not all films have to be polished. Sometimes the ride matters more than the destination. And that's why, even decades later, the Cannonball Run still makes people smile. If you enjoyed this ride through movie history, do us a favor. Tap that like button. Hit subscribe for more deep dives into film history, and tell us in the comments, what Cannonball moment makes you laugh every time? And remember, there's no map for Cannonball, only the gas pedal.